Hey, everybody, it's the Glockenfleckens. We are bringing our live show, Wife and Death, to Boston. We're coming to the Huntington Theater September 14th, just right around the corner. We cannot wait, especially because we're coming to Boston before it starts snowing.
Theoretically, yes.
Hopefully, it's going to be great. It's going to be great weather. Come on out. We can't wait to see you. Get tickets now, glockenflecken.com/live. We'll see you there.
Knock, knock. Hi.
Hello, welcome to Knock Knock Eye with me, your host, Dr. Glockenflecken. This is your one-stop shop for all things eyeball related, ophthalmology related, anything tangentially related to eyeballs. Here we go. So first, I wrapped up my second week of call for the year. It's in the books. And you know the drill when I talk about my call weeks. I get to complain about it, and in full recognition that I have it better than 99% of doctors out there. But it's my podcast. I get to complain. It was a fairly difficult call week. Had some difficult patients, and but there's a lot of phone calls and a lot of at an inopportune time. That's part of it. As I've gotten older. So when I was first of all, for the call week, it was a full week. We cover 4 different hospitals, which sounds like a lot, but they're all community hospitals. And basically I cover about half of Portland. And we have my practice, Eye Health Northwest, is about 40 something MDs, a lot of doctors, by the way, proudly 100% physician owned. We're very proud of that fact. And, but it's a lot of doctors and a lot of patients, right? So I'm basically taking call for half of our doctors, for a week at a time, but only 3 weeks a year. But it can, over the years, I've noticed as we've gotten bigger, as we take care of more patients, the call has gotten busier. So it used to be like a 1 in difficulty. Now it's like a 4. So, still not too bad, but some are better, some are worse. What has gotten harder is the middle of the night stuff. So when I was 30, like starting my career, basically, I think I wrapped up residency. I took 1 extra year in med school. And so I was 31 when I finished. When I would get paged in the middle of the night, doesn't matter, 2, 3 a.m., I could like pretty much, boom, I was awake. I was coherent. I was somewhat jovial at times. Like I've never been a mean person on the phone. I just don't. There's already too much anger and frustration in healthcare to add more on call. So I try. I'm not a happy person necessarily, but I am friendly. But when I was 30, first starting, I could wake up in the middle of the night and I could have a conversation about pathophysiology that made sense, even had a little bit of jargon, not too much, and could make higher order medical decision making immediately, like within 20 seconds upon waking from a dead sleep at 3:00 in the morning. Fast forward 10 years. I am not as good at that. I find myself when I get woken up, and this happened of the 7 nights I was on call, I think 4 of the 7, I did get like a middle of the night page. So this time, this is what it's like now. 10 years later, I'm 40, about to turn 41. I get called by the emergency department in the middle of the night. I wake up, I groan, and I slowly rise like a mummy from, or like the zombies from Night of the Living Dead. I just stumble into my closet. That's my phone call taking place because it's like insulated and I don't disturb my wife. And that's where I make my phone call. I get on the phone and I noticed it's harder for me. I've had to have the doctor who's giving me the consult repeat themselves more often because it's just, I'm 40. My brain, it just takes longer for it to wake up. I've noticed that change over 10 years. And to the point where now it's like whenever the emergency physician starts jumping into vision, and I checked the pressure, and it started this and this, and we did this kind of imaging already, and the ultrasound showed this. After they give the presentation, I'm like, wait, what year is it right now? Who are you? Who am I talking? What hospital are you with? Uh, who am I? What is my name? Like it's almost not quite that bad, but I have to orient myself. I have to have someone help me orient myself to my surroundings and what is happening, because like 60 seconds ago, I was in like REM sleep. And I don't know, I just can't do it as easily. So I don't know what that's going to be like when I'm 50, if I'm still practicing when I'm 60, if I'm still practicing when I'm 70. How how do you take call? How do you do that whenever you get to that age? Because I'm already starting to feel it now. It's crazy. Um, and so, but then, and I felt, I'm talking to the person, um, and sometimes I have them like repeat things like two, hopefully not three times, but that happens occasionally. And eventually I wake up to a point where, okay, I can have a rational, full conversation with the emergency physician. They're very patient with me. I really appreciate that. I think they know, like, you know, they probably, although emergency physicians, like their sleep patterns, I don't know. They're a whole different animal. How they're able to do what they do with the shift work and everything. But maybe I think they understand, like, they're waking us up. We maybe need a little bit extra time, a couple extra minutes to get our thoughts together. So I appreciate my local emergency physicians who are very patient with me as I get older. But the call week, I had I got lost in a hospital. I had to go to our local, it's actually a pretty big hospital in Portland. And I had to find my way. The hardest thing to do is when you show up after business hours. If I can show up to the hospital during business hours, it's great because I've got the information desk at the front, and I can say, I'm looking for this patient, and they write it down exactly where to go and tell me, direct me. But a couple times I had to show up to this hospital, this big hospital, after hours, no information desk. I had to find this place on my own. I wandered into some rehab hallway, found this poor nurse. It was like, "Hi, can I help? Can you help me find? I think I'm trying to find 4L." And I went to the fourth floor thinking, must be where 4L is. But no, I was very wrong. It was actually the first floor, but like has nothing to do. I had to go down to the first floor, find a different elevator, then go up to the fourth floor. And anyway, and then, we took a selfie, and it was all, it was fine. It was fine. Again, stupid to complain about this stuff, but the stereotypes are true. Ophthalmologists get lost in hospitals. We're lost and we're scared. And if you find an ophthalmologist wandering a hallway, so here's what I looked like is I was carrying my backpack like a fourth grader, my big giant backpack full of all my stuff, my eyeball stuff. I was carrying a literal map that I picked up uh, of the hospital layout. And I was doing the thing where I was turning in all the different directions. And then I was double backing and it's doing like the switchback thing, trying to I was a mess. If you see that person, that is an ophthalmologist. All right. Please help that individual. Like, they need it desperately. They're scared and hungry and cold and frightened. But I found my way. I had people help me, and survived call. Saw some pretty gnarly corneal ulcers, lots of flashes and floaters, more like just kind of the meat and potatoes, eyeball call stuff. Nothing real terribly exciting, which is what you want. You want like a lot of excitement on call. But I am still reminded every time I do call, every day you'll have one or two patients that, even though it's inconvenient, it's midnight or whatever on a Thursday, you have to work the next day, but people are generally so appreciative, the patients and the referring doctors, like the emergency staff, like they're so appreciative of the the effort that it takes to come in and do that, and you show them compassion, and they're scared in the emergency department. It's just one of those things, like it gets so much to the core, the essence of being a physician, that it feels pretty nice. It feels good. And I felt that a couple times on call. Even though I was tired, I just had to drive in the middle of the night, 30 minutes to get to the hospital. I was, exhausted. But then like you see a patient that's really, they think they're going blind, and then you reassure them, no, you're not, everything's okay. And it's just a nice interaction, and it just strips away those in the middle of the night on call things in the emergency department. I'm not even like, I don't have a computer. I barely even know how to log into their health record system. It's literally, my sole focus is right there with the patient. And it feels fundamentally like why I got into medicine. That being said, I don't want to be like a full-time call taking doctor. There's like actually ophthalmology, like hospitalists now, like that exists. That's a role that exists. You could just do this type of work for your career. Maybe someone likes to do that kind of thing. That's part of the reason why I got into ophthalmology, because I wasn't a big fan of the hospital. As already mentioned, I get scared in there. But I do like the occasional interaction that makes me remember, oh yeah, this is really what being a doctor is all about. It's not about making sure you click the right boxes so you can make sure you get paid, or have to do this prior authorization to make sure you get paid, or any of the other things. I don't even bill for these like emergency consults. It's literally just me going like I'm an old timey doctor with a doctor bag, going to see a patient, doing the thing, saving the vision, and then going home. So there's some satisfaction to that. All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back. I want to talk about neonatologists. Hey, Kristen, I got to hand it to you.
Why is that?
Our room is so comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Like the chaos of summer, kids everywhere, home from school. Like I could just retreat into my bed, and it feels so good.
It feels cozy, you might say, because it's all cozy earth.
Oh, cozy. Yeah, it's cozy earth,
Yes.
right? The bamboo sheets.
Yep. The duvet.
The duvet cover.
Mhm.
I love the duvet. I didn't even know duvet was a word before I met you.
Yeah,
by the
that
way.
checks out.
But I'm so glad Cozy Earth makes a duvet cover, because
Yeah.
it like keeps me cool,
Yes, but warm.
but like comfort. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. It's perfect. It's
Yeah.
just the perfect setting to go to sleep. Cozy Earth stands behind everything they make, with a 10-year warranty on all bedding and a 100-night sleep trial. If it's not the best sleep of your life, send it back. Everything else is getting back on track. Your sleep should too. Head to cozyearth.com and use my code KNOCK for an exclusive 20% off. Again, that's code KNOCK for 20% off. And if you see a post-purchase survey, mention that you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Hey, Kristen.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into the summer months.
Yeah.
All right. I want to tell you something that I've been hearing about from patients.
Okay.
So everybody's using lots of fans and air conditioning, which can lead to dry, irritated eyes.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a chance that those symptoms could be something else entirely.
Oh, I know the answer to this one.
All right, let's hear it.
It could be Demodex blepharitis.
Yes. Oh, you're learning so much about eyeballs. I love it. Actually, there was a study that showed about 60% of patients treated for dry eye also had Demodex blepharitis.
That is a lot.
And the symptoms like itchy, red, irritated eyelids, they're similar, so it can be confusing. Ask your eye doctor to check for those little tiny collarettes on the lashes.
Oh, those crusties at the base of the eyelashes.
Exactly. And the good news is that there's a prescription eye drop available for Demodex blepharitis. To learn more about Demodex blepharitis, visit miteslovelids.com. Again, that's miteslovelids.com to learn more. This ad is brought to you by Tarsus Pharmaceuticals. All right, so my latest crusade against bad behavior amongst nonprofit hospital systems takes us to Asante, Rogue Regional Medical Center down in Medford, Oregon. So if you've been following me lately on social media, I've been doing these deep dives into these medical groups, these groups of physicians who have been, in some cases, potentially wrongfully terminated, or just having their contracts canceled midway through and replaced with private equity groups, or other just like under the table little shenanigan things by these corporations, sometimes for-profit corporations, sometimes nonprofit hospitals. People, we definitely need to stop thinking about nonprofit hospitals as inherently virtuous. They stopped being charities a long time ago, you guys. And I am reminded of that fact every time a doctor from a different specialty, from a different hospital reaches out to me to tell me about this horrible thing that happened to their group. This is like the fourth time I've done this kind of deep dive. It started with Eugene, emergency physicians down in Eugene, Oregon. And then Valley Health, which I still periodically will update people because I can't let Valley Health off the hook with their emergency physicians. And it seems like every other doctor in the hospital. Then there was Central Maine Medical Center with their, sell to private equity, Prime Healthcare, my dear friends, Prime Healthcare. I still need to frame the cease and desist they gave me and put it up on the wall behind me. I think I'll do that. And then now, we're back into Oregon. And what happened was back in January, the administrators, the CEO at Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center, which is a level 3 trauma center. So it's not a big trauma center. Level 1's the highest, right? That's where you'll see like big academic medical centers. Level 2, they don't do big traumas, but they still do. They'll do like emergent surgeries and things. Level 3 is just a step lower. But still, Medford is a big. It's probably, I don't know if it's the second, third, or fourth biggest city in Oregon, but they have an airport. That's something, right? So big enough. It's not rural, I would say. And in January 29th of this year, the CEO, or whoever it was, the administration, sent an email out to all 9 of the neonatologists that they hired, that had been working for years, for decades, for 20 years. This group of neonatologists have been gradually building up this neonatology program at this hospital, and they were told in January, "We're letting you go. You're done. You're fired." Now, not immediately. They're told, "Well, you're going to stay on until July, but you're going to be done. You're going to be done working with us." And this group, what I tell you, this group is a phenomenal group. They've had incredible stability, which is important. That'll come up a little bit later in the story. Incredible stability. Never had a single neonatologist leave the group. And by the way, they are employed by Asante. So this is not like an independent physician group. They are employed by Asante. Incredible stability. Their last retirement was in 2021. Remember that. 2021, last retirement. And over the years, they have improved care. They have expanded care, including being able to take care of infants as early as 22 weeks. I think I remember when I was in med school, like I have 26 weeks in my mind. Like that was the absolute earliest an infant could possibly survive. 22 weeks is unbelievable and just speaks to how good these people are at their jobs. I can't even fathom how difficult it would be to save a 22-week-old infant. Unreal skill, unreal teamwork. And so they accomplished, they did that. They established quality metrics, and they reached certain benchmarks set by the AAP and CMS to make sure that they are recognized as this high quality NICU. So in short, very, very good at their jobs. This group of neonatologists, 9 women neonatologists. And so it obviously just was a huge slap in the face to everybody. Like, what? You're firing us? What are you talking about? How could Asante do this? How could they take this high functioning, highly respected group and just be like, nah, we're not gonna do this anymore. We're not gonna do this. Well, in talking to, and I had a couple of sources about this, so I won't talk about who they are, but anyway, all the information I'm giving you is verified. Like this is, and a lot of it comes from a press release that was recently put out by the neonatologists themselves. And so everything I've reported on this it's coming directly from those neonatologists. And what went down was back in 2023, I believe, there was a big change in leadership at Asante. Basically, they just I guess there were some financial issues, and they changed CEO, changed a lot of the administrators around. So you had a new CEO come in, and shortly after that, the neonatologists in the NICU started noticing problems. Certain changes in staffing, cutting some educational positions, some other just team positions in the NICU that made them feel like things are not quite as safe as they should be. They raised, as anybody should, these neonatologists, hey, they raised these concerns in a series of letters to the board of directors at Asante. Be like, hey, we're really concerned about this. The administration that came in, they're making these changes that's actually making things unsafe for these babies and for the staff, and also is putting us out of alignment with the AAP and CMS, which could affect our funding or the money we're bringing into this NICU. And by the way, a NICU is not like a quote unquote money loser. Administrators love labeling certain departments as, oh, they make a lot of money. Oh, they lose a lot of money, or they don't make any money. They make a lot of money. That's how administrators think about departments. They have to a certain extent because they got to keep the hospital open, but like that should not be the priority. That's totally side point. But anyway, the point is a neonatology unit, a NICU unit, is like they generate RVUs, like they bring money into the thing. And so the neonatologists, they raise these concerns, and it brought tension into the arrangement, which it shouldn't have, right? If I was running a hospital, I would absolutely, if something was going on that was putting patients at risk, I'd want to know about it, and I'd do everything I can in my power to try to fix that situation. In short, I would listen to my doctors, which does not sound like that's what's happening here. Now, we don't know for sure if the firing 2 years after that was directly related to, was like a retaliation against these neonatologists speaking out. That is conjecture. All right, so I'm saying that is not, there's no proof that that's what's going on. But the reason I'm even bringing that up is because we don't know why Asante decided to do this. And that is a theme I'm seeing with all of these hospital systems. Peace Health in Oregon, Valley Health in Virginia, right? Central Maine Medical Center in Maine. The staff is kept in the dark. Decisions are made by administrators who don't see patients, by the way, that disrupt sometimes very high, well-functioning processes. Suddenly, just like this, like you fire all 9 neonatologists. What are you doing? What's the plan? No plan was given. In fact, the reasons that Asante gave these neonatologists changed over time. at first it was because, well, we feel like you neonatologists have lost trust in us. So I think it's best to go our separate ways. It's like you're breaking up with your significant other and be like, I feel like you just don't like me. So I'm going to do you a favor and say we're going to break up because I know you don't like me very much. Like, what is that? No, that doesn't make any sense. So that was the initial thing that they were told. And then it was, they confirmed, no, well, Asante confirmed, well, it's not a financial thing. Because of course that's what they were asked. There was no financial consideration here. They said it was just a business decision. Well, what the hell kind of a decision is a business decision if not financial? And then they also later confirmed, well, it's not because of any patient care issues. Well, of course the fuck it's not a patient care issue. Are you kidding me? Like this is a very good group that's excellent at their jobs. You're damn right it's not a patient care issue. So what is it, Asante? Because you're telling us all these different things. Now, there's going to be another episode. I need to make a video and talk about the hospitalists, because a few weeks after they fired the neonatologists, they told the hospitalists, which is an even bigger group, that their contract would not be renewed in 2027. There's something very wrong happening at Asante. And I'm trying to learn more into it or learn more about it. Now, fast forward, now they're in a situation where the neonatologists, they're still working, they're still staffing the hospital, but they know that their job is going to be ending in July. And Asante, because they've given no plan, it seems like they have just fired these doctors without any apparent plan for how to replace them. Neonatologists don't grow on trees. It's not, you just like pluck out new neonatologists from the weeds and be like, okay, you're going to work here. You're going to work like these are very specialized physicians. And so I think Asante realized, whoa, we've got to do something. Like, how we got to bring some people on. So they hired Medicus Healthcare Solutions. Medicus Healthcare Solutions is a private equity backed locums staffing company. Now, if you're not sure what locums is basically a hired gun, right? It's a mercenary, for lack of a better term. So you hire them, they come in, they do their job, whatever their specialty is, and for like a week at a time, they stay at a hotel, then they go home, wherever they live. And they get paid way more than the full-time doctors who typically work. So like Asante would have to pay these locums doctors a lot more hourly rate than the neonatologists that they fired. So you talk about financial decision, it doesn't even make sense financially, much less from a patient care standpoint. Now, I don't want to make locums doctors seem bad by calling them mercenaries. That's not that was just descriptive of like what exactly they're doing. They're coming in, doing a job to get paid and go home. Because locums has a purpose. Like if you have like let's say a rural hospital that they have a doctor, they only have one neurosurgeon decided to up and leave, go to the academic medical center across the state. You're out a neurosurgeon. What are you going to do? Well, you might hire a locums doctor to stem the tide, to at least do the work, do some patient care while you look for a permanent replacement. That's the point of locums. It's not to replace an entire department of doctors who were already doing a good job. Like this is not the point of locums. But anyway, cat's out of the bag. Neonatologists are getting fired. Asante has to do something. So they partner with Medicus. Medicus is like, yes, of course, we will bring in our locums people. And so you have this period of time when the neonatologists are actually having to train and like are working with these locums doctors, because above all else are these neonatologists, they care about the patients. So if they're not going to be working there, they want to make sure that the people that come in can do a good job taking care of these babies. That's that speaks to the values, to who these people are, the kind of doctors they are, that they're willing to train their replacements because they know that has to be done to continue to take care of the neonates in this region. Speaks to their character quite a bit. One interesting little subplot in all this is that in April, Jennifer Davenport, who's the vice president for medical affairs at Asante, she went and spoke on a panel that was hosted by Medicus, the Locums company that they were partnered with. And during this panel, she said that she gave an example of why locums are so important. She said, we had one example was we had this group of neonatologists. She's speaking in April, by the way. They're all still working full time. They're covering all the shifts at the hospital. Said, we had a group of neonatologists. They were working so hard. They were just working themselves to the bone, trying to recruit, They had a slew of retirements, and in order to make sure we had stability in the department, all right, we partnered with Medicus to help make sure that we stayed staffed and we're seeing patients. All of this was a lie, obviously. Those neonatologists, they were working. They wanted to work. They didn't want to lose their jobs. The last retirement was 2021. And here is Dr. Davenport, Asante talking head, talking about how there was a bunch of retirements that was the reason that they had to seek out Medicus. We had no choice. We had to go to Medicus. What were we going to do? What were we going to do? Lies. And if you have a high-ranking administrator flat out lying in public, what else are they going to lie about? In my opinion, like that, you're running a hospital. You're the head of the doctors, essentially, medical affairs. And you start lying about what's happening to your doctors, you're done. Like, you've lost credibility. How can anybody believe? How can those doctors at Asante believe anything you say? I pointed all this out in the video that I posted. And shortly after, Asante started to delete not Asante, Medicus began deleting everything they could find about that panel. They deleted the website. And then I made a follow-up video because I noticed that, they got rid of the website that had information about the panel, but they had posted a YouTube video of the panel and left it up for like an extra 24 hours. So I just made a video. I was trying to help them out. Be like, hey, it looks like you missed this. You need to, I thought you might, since you're deleting everything else about this panel, you might want to get rid of this too. Just throwing it out there, making sure you're aware. And so, of course, Medicus, like they made the video private after that. Not a good look, guys. Deleting, trying to cover your tracks. Not a good look to Medicus or to Asante. And so, and just to wrap this all up, where we are currently, because this is, I think there's going to be more that comes out about this. There's going to be more about Asante that I plan on talking about, and so stay tuned for more updates on this. But the way I want to wrap this discussion up is just talking about those neonatologists and the type of people they are, because at the end of their press release, laying all of this out, they have a list of asks, what they want out of this debacle of a situation. And it's all about just transparency, making sure experts, the doctors in the these departments can actually weigh in on decisions that affect patient care. Imagine that. Giving reasons why these types of decisions are made. And ultimately, just they wanted to ensure that everything is being done to maintain the safety of the patients in this NICU. That was all they're wanting out of this. They could have ended that press release being like, we want our jobs back. Give us our jobs back. We did not deserve to be fired. No. They could have done that. And they would have had an incredible amount of support in that ask. But no, that's not what they asked. And that tells you everything you need to know about that group. That their priority was the patients. I feel for them. I've interacted with them a bit, and they're just wonderful people. And I wish them the best. And I want. And the reason I talk about this stuff because I've gotten messages from people about how, like, okay, we get it. These health systems are taking good advantage of doctors. Like, why you keep talking about it? Like, what's the point? It's still going to happen. What's the point is these doctors, sometimes their livelihoods are threatened, their patients are threatened, their careers are threatened. And they are bullied into silence about exactly this type of thing. The reason those neonatologists didn't say anything, didn't put out a press release until after they were officially fired is because they faced legal repercussions. If they spoke out, if they spoke to the press, they were explicitly told not to talk to the press. And I am fortunate to be in a position and have a platform where I can. Yeah, I might get a cease and desist. As long as I'm accurate, as long as I'm not lying to people, I'll keep doing it. I'm doing it not just for like my audience, but I do this for those doctors and the people in those communities who are affected by this. Because again, it's not just doctors that are affected, it's patients. It's a lot of patients. And they deserve to know why these types of changes are happening, why they might go to the hospital and have a worse experience now than they did 6 months ago. If we don't tell them why, who are they going to blame? They're going to blame the very doctors that are being taken advantage of, that are getting fired, that are losing their jobs because of actions from administrators who are putting profits over patients. That's why I talk about this stuff. Communities have a right to know what's happening in the healthcare landscape of their community. We know the hospitals, they know what's going to happen when they make these decisions. They absolutely know, which is why they try to keep it out of the media. They try to bully their employees not to speak up about it because they know it looks bad, because it is bad. That's why I do it. And I'm going to keep doing it. And if you don't want the decisions of your health system, blasted out to millions of people around the world, don't take advantage of your doctors, of your staff. Don't take advantage of patients. Don't make bad patient care decisions. It's that simple. This is not complicated, guys. I wish the neonatologists the best of luck. I'm still going to be, I told them, any updates, anything, like, please let me know. I'm happy to amplify any messages they have, any further updates that come out. So anyway, stay tuned for that. That's it for Knock Knock I am your host, Dr. Glock and Flecken. Thanks to my executive producers, Aaron Corney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brick. Editor and engineer Jason Portiza. Our music is by Omer Binsby. Knock Knock I, the Human Content Production. I'll see you next week.
Knock, knock. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching the episode. You can find more on that playlist over there. If you prefer to listen, or you just had your eyes dilated, you can binge full episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Or join the party over on Patreon, where you get early access episodes, hang out with us, get lots of exclusive bonus content. Help you subscribe, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think.